Hello all, another week, although it's currently Wednesday. I've been spending a couple of days doing the thing I can't talk about yet from the last video. Hopefully I'll be able to get that out to you soon and let you know what's going on. But I've been working on the Defender again today, surprise, surprise. We have put the auxiliary battery in the back, that's all wired in, earthed and done. I have topped it up with proper coolant. And I've been working on something else. Now, I said on socials and various places before I was going to buy the Sport dashboard, seeing as they haven't offered to sponsor me. Surprise, surprise. But the more I looked at it, the more I thought, do you know what? It doesn't quite fit how I'd want it to. Let me try and show you. Right, so in here, I'll try and put a picture up that I saw, but it comes down and goes back, but it finishes halfway up the heater hole. Now I want to try and get my friend to 3D print something that goes over there with vents on, so I can, you know, put tubes up and try and put some hot air vents. I know that the vent heaters aren't great, but still. So what I've been doing is having a little measure and a trial, and I'm going to make my own. Now it's 2mm steel. It doesn't quite fit properly because I've got to remove this bit yet, but when that goes all the way back to the rubber, it will come in further. And obviously it's just there's a bit of a gap there until it all goes all the way home. Even like this, the gear stick still misses. So I'm tempted just to make my own, you know. So what I've done is I've cut a piece of steel down. I've made my measurements on the side there and a little diagram, and I'm going to try and find somewhere that will bend this for me in one piece. Now I made that little bit in the other one as to try and be a proof of concept, to make sure that it would fit in there, and see, oh hang on, there you go, and see to you know, have a little bit of a example to show the people. As far as angles go, I haven't got an angle finder. I know that one's 90 degrees because I bent it over the bench, but obviously there's that one and the return. But I'm thinking, if I have that all bent up, obviously take the column and stuff out, drop all the wire into the floor, well, say to the floor, try and get it inside. Well, I'll leave these sides open, and then what I can do is maybe get some flanges welded on there and have some screw-in panels on the end, so you can take them off and get your hands in. And obviously the front panels will be like the Sport dash. They'll be like big removable panels, so you can undo them and you've just got the hole behind the dash. That just fits. I've done it so it just fits past the key on the Discovery column. So we should be good. So I'm thinking, if I get that bent up, try and I'll get the column out, get as much of the wiring behind it as I can, and try and, you know, sit it in there, and then we can modify as we go. It's steel, so it can be welded back if need be. And, you know, all right, it might not be as posh and perfectly finished as the Sport one, but it will fit better round the wiper motor, round the heater vent, etc. And then, yeah, as I say, I can have little tabs welded on for bits to screw on, etc, etc, so I haven't got to worry about damaging the powder coat of the Sport one. So that's what I've been doing today. I've got to try and find somebody who'll bend it up now. Right, so there is the Sport one on their website. If I zoom in down there, you can see the heater hole is like cut off. There's no wiper motor there that I can see. It might just be above it, but I don't think so. And obviously they've got the cut out for the steering column, and they've cut that out for the wiring loom, which I don't have the original fuse box. So I'm thinking, as I say, if mine comes down further and meets at the bottom of the bulkhead there, if you can see my pointer, that will be the better option for me, but still have a similar setup with the, you know, with the holes and then the plates that screw in to put all the switches and whatever you want in. So yeah, I think doing it myself, having my own one, building my own one would be the better option.
So if I just have a quick glance, There was a couple of questions I was going to do. So that was one from Driz Developments. Yeah, quick question regarding the electric doors. Is there a need to have a mechanical way of opening in the event of emergency? Well, yes, there will be. It's not going to be hidden away. I think there was a bit of a hoo-ha I was reading about recently where I think it's on a Tesla where it's electrically open doors, and the emergency release is like hidden away behind something, which seems a bit odd. So ours will just be, you'll have something akin to the original release handle to open them mechanically if you want to.
Right, so I have also fitted a amplifier. Now I haven't done the wiring properly yet because I will take all this board off, but until I've got everything, I'm not going to start positioning and drilling holes until I know. Obviously I've screwed the amp up, that's where it's going to go, and I've screwed those in because they're only little screws, so it doesn't matter if they move. But what I eventually want to do is take the panel off and obviously drill through and put the cables out the back. But for now, just to make sure it works. Now on top is a little Bluetooth sender. So I don't need a head unit. I can literally Bluetooth to that. It will play it through the amp and out the speakers. I've tried it through my phone. It's really bloody loud as well. So, and the amp is on minimum gain. So that should be good. I won't need a head unit. I mean, I've got all the cables there for a head unit, but literally all I do is stream the radio or stream music that I've got saved on my phone. So I don't need a head unit. I can just use the volume. My plan is to put like an iPad on the dashboard. And I'll use that for music, for maps, for everything really. So yeah, so that works really well, and I haven't got to have a head unit in the dashboard. So that's done. They're all wired in. Obviously I can't show you because of copyright, blah blah blah. I've started doing the wiring for the air ride. I don't think that compressor's gonna be any good for me, so I'm going to buy a twin pack of 200 psi compressors, like Viair ones. So I'm just sorting the wiring out ready for them. So I've got 2 relays straight to the battery, and then obviously I've got another one of these coming because they've got to be wired independently, and then these are the outputs to the compressors. I've got some 10 gauge wire coming, so I'll sort all that out. Yeah, I think that's it. Oh, just to say that I put a ignition feed in as well, so the amp turns on with the ignition because obviously there'll be no head unit. So I've put an ignition feed in, or actually just piggybacked it off the cigarette lighter wiring in the back here because Disco 2 is having the boot. So yeah, so that's that job. The dashboard, I dropped the metal off on Thursday. He told me to be ready Monday. Monday morning I went, oh sorry, we've been stuck on another job. I'll let you know when it's done. Monday afternoon, like 3 o'clock. Yeah, we've just started the other person's job. So it's like, okay, so how long is it going to be? An hour, a day, a week? No reply. So I'm hoping it's today, being Tuesday, because I want to get on with it. So today I'm going to pull out this black dash part from the old dashboard, remove the steering column, so there's nothing in the way for me to offer the dash up when it comes back, and I can start chopping it down. And well, to say chopping it down, I can finesse it because it's going to be wider at the bottom than it is the top. You can see the shape of the rubber, so I've done it as wide as the rubber here, but obviously I will need to finesse it to fit in there. But until it arrives, I won't know exactly by how much. So yeah, so I want to get this black part out, and I want to get the steering column back out, so then there's nothing in the way other than the wiring for it just to go in. If the earths that are there temporarily, I mean they could be permanent if need be. Otherwise what I'll probably do is put an earth point on the actual steel dashboard, and then obviously run it to an earth point on the vehicle, even though it'll be mounting on the bulkhead. I just want to make sure it's got a good earth. So right, let's get on with that then. Right, well it's folded. I've trimmed it down slightly. It's nowhere near fitting yet. I've got to now move all the wires, but we're getting there. And there it is. The mount is on and holding the shock. Just got to design the top ones now. but we're getting there.
Right, well, we have made one shock mount, upper shock mount, shall I say. It took a lot of fabrication and working out and measuring, trying, testing, etc. So one is done, just got to make the other one. Both the lower shock mounts are made, so they've obviously ready to go. I just need to, obviously, we want to put them on, test it before we paint, tidy everything up, just to make sure it works. Now, another thing I have noticed, and it was more, I have noticed before, but didn't really pay attention to until Mikey pointed it out. Can you see the bag is on the hook, as we say over here in Suffolk? You might be able to see it better now. It's the axle line is probably 1.5 inches, an inch maybe further forward on full droop. Obviously, as it drops, it kind of straightens out, but the spring seat obviously rotates down like that, so the bag is even more twisted. So we have measured this chassis, because bear in mind it's got the D2 rear spring hangers on the front. We've measured from the edge of the spring hanger to the front of the chassis, and we've also measured from the front of the chassis to the radius arm mount. Now let me show you those measurements. Right, so from that spring mount there to the front of the chassis rail, it is 48 centimeters. Okay, next measurement. So from the radius arm mount there to the front of the dumb iron is 56 inches. Let's go and compare it to my old chassis that's still here. All right, spring hanger to front dumb iron, 48. So exactly the same. Let's measure the radius arm. Right, so on this chassis it is 56.5. Now another thing on here is these spring mounts. I think they're 1 inch taller comparing to the other one. I've got, between the spring plate and that bolt on the other one, I've got just under 4 inches. This is just over 5 inches. So we've got 1 inch and a half extra springs that someone's put on these axles, because obviously this come on a donor car, these axles. So I didn't do any of the, any of this. I don't know if you've seen another video. He rebuilt these axles apparently, and I had to redo them all because they were crap. All the bearings weren't greased properly or nothing. So I've done all that. So someone has welded some taller spring plates on there. Have they welded them in the right place? Do they need clocking back a bit? Also, I've got the 2 inch, you can't see them because they're in the bag, but the 2 inch raise blocks. So we're going to have a 3.5 inch raise. So the spring's already, the air spring's already high and clocked as it is. So what we're going to do, I've ordered some standard height spring bases. We're going to cut them off, re-weld on some new ones, but clock them round a bit so they make the spring line up, or at least straighter. Either clock them round and bring them back slightly. It's not ideal, but is Mare at ½ inch out on the chassis, or is that just tolerance? I don't know. As I say, I've got poly bushes in there, so they might be a bit longer than standard bushes anyway, and pushing it even further forward. So I say I'm going to take the nut off the back, take the poly bush out from there, and have a look and see whether this one is all the way home, because it might not be. So yeah, so it's another thing we've got to deal with. And also, obviously, we've got to make this shock tower to go on this side, but it should just be a copy of this one. So just obviously the shock hole the other side, but we'll see. Right, let's get that nut off and have a look. There we go. I think you can see that is all the way home. I mean, could possibly trim down the bush on the back, give us a 10 mil. Do I really want to start getting into that? I don't really know. I'll have to have a ponder. Maybe I'll see if I've got some standard bushes and just sort of compare the size. Right, let's go and see if we've got any. Right, here's another radius arm. The outer bush is pretty much the same. The inner bush is quite a bit shallower, but is that just because it's been compressed and it's an old rubber bush? I'm going to have a look at the parts diagrams and people selling ones and just see whether they are the same size or whether you are supposed to have a shorter one. You know, obviously I just replace them. I don't ever measure them, so I would imagine they're the same size. I'd imagine that's just got squashed down with age, but let's have a look. Also, I'm going to measure this radius arm, just in the freak that we've got one that's slightly longer. I very much doubt it, but it's all things just to check. I've measured the radius arms. No, they're exactly the same length. I thought they would be. They're all probably cast out the same stuff. And that is now tight. Well, I say now, it always was, but it's now tight up to the collar on the radius arms. That technically can't go any tighter. So, you know, that bush can't be any shorter because the bolt won't tighten up. So, is that mount half an inch further forward giving us problems? Is it that mount half an inch further forward and someone's welded on different spring hangers in a slightly different place, clocked round a bit? I think, you know, it's probably a combination of the both. So we're going to change the spring cups and yeah, try and resolve it that way. Okay, the dash has been all marked out. So these bits are going to be cut out, and then these plates will then go over there and be removable. So obviously the riv nuts will sort of go in this spot here on each corner, and then as you can see it'll bolt down. So we've got 3 there, there and there. Then we've got a blank for where the steering column's going to go. We're not quite sure exactly how that's going to come out yet, so that's left blank. And then there's one on the end there, a smaller one, which will probably end up being for the air suspension. So yeah, so now it's a matter of taking the dash back out, cutting these out, and then I've got the plates here. I've just got to finish the edges and the corners, put some radius on them, and then yeah, drill and tap it. Well, drill and riv nut them and then bolt them in. Although I don't know whether to. It's only 2 mil, so I'm not sure. Yeah, I think 2 mil is probably a bit too thin to tap it. I don't know. I might drill one of the holes out and tap it and see what happens. Because obviously with the riv nuts, they'll sit a bit proud, so there'll be a gap. I don't suppose that's a problem. I could put sealant, you know, the seal tape round it and seal them on. Obviously stuck to the back here as opposed to there. But yeah, right, let's take this out and cut it out and see where we're at, and then obviously try the bits in, I suppose. So I've cut all the holes out, I've smoothed the corners off. That took some doing with a grinder. So next will be to drill the holes for the plates to go on top. So they're going to be, sorry, I've turned all the lights off now. They're probably going to be on this sort of corner here. I need to make a 9 mil hole for 6 mil, M6. What do you call them? Riv nuts. But as I say, I think I'll drill and tap it first and see if they will go in and not round off. I mean, they're not going to be super tight. Might just save putting riv nuts in there. So, right. I'll call that a day for today. Back tomorrow. Well, there you go. They are drilled. They are mounted temporarily. I've obviously got some matching hex head bolts to come. So they're all in. I've just got to tidy up the edges, the corners. These edges are a little bit wavy, so I just need to flatten those off. But yeah, there it is. So now we can try and start designing, putting switches and what's going to go where, etc. Another job I've got today is this faux overfinch. It's not real. It's got all the bits on it, but as you can see, standard brake calipers, so it's got no Brembos or anything on it. So we are doing brake discs and pads, rear caliper, and I think that's it. Oh, and disc guard as well on the other side. It's all rusted off, so simple, normal as any brakes.
I won't bore you with it. Take the calipers off, undo the disc, pull it off, put it back on. Simple as that. Fuck up Fridays in full effect. So it came in for front discs, rear discs, and a disc crap shield. The front discs were missing. I was told we had all of them. Kind of my fault, because I probably should have checked before I started stripping it down, but there was one box of brakes in there. To be fair, I thought we were just doing the fronts. Turns out she brought back brakes and no fronts. So I ordered some 3 hours ago. Just a phone call from the supplier. Oh, the driver's gone home sick. Joy. They're going to get them to me apparently, but God knows when. So it's been, what's the time now? Nearly 4 o'clock. I ordered them at 12:30. How dull. Well, it's Friday afternoon. I look a bit red-faced. It's now 6 o'clock in the evening. The L322 is done. I have got a bit of a barn find tomorrow. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to film it or not. So if the video ends here, thank you for watching. Have a lovely weekend and I'll see you next week. Otherwise, I'll tell you about the barn find at the end of this. So either way, see you in a bit.